Aloha and welcome to the Embodied Healing Self podcast with your host, Jen Mons. Each week, join me for soul-inspired, conscious conversations around embodied healing and awakening to your soul's purpose. Thank you for listening in. Aloha and welcome back to this week's episode of the Embodied Healing Self. So this week, I'm going to dive into a little bit more of the world I live in, which is the energy body, and how our energy body can affect our overall well-being, specifically as it relates to nutrition and nourishment, and also the subconscious body and the emotional patterns and blocks that can show up for us. You may be listening here today if you resonate with the feeling of believing that you do all the right things for your health and well-being. You eat healthy, you make good choices, you exercise and move, you have relatively healthy relationships and connections in your life. Maybe you meditate, pray, or journal. And maybe there's a part of you that still feels like it's lacking a little bit in vitality. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to create the framework for this by just sharing with you that we are an energy body and we have different layers within our energy body. And part of what's happening right now on a global scale is that many of us are ascending from the third dimension to the fifth dimensional energy body. It's happening globally. You may or may not resonate with this right now, but just know that there is this process that is happening in humanity and within ourselves. And so some people are really uncomfortable in their physical bodies right now. And the physical body is a part of the energy body. So the energy body has many layers to it. It has the physical body, it has the emotional body, it has the mental body. And within the energy body, many of you might be familiar with the chakra system. There are 7 layers of the energy body within the realm of the physical body. And then there are also chakras that extend beyond the physical body, above our crown chakra, that are also in the layers of the energy body. So what happens is our energy body affects the way that we experience life and well-being. And there are many things that affect the way that our energy body is showing up. And there are many ways that the energy body affects our physical well-being. So stuckness, fears, blocks, discordance in energy, distortion or dead energy can be seen in the energy body field. And this was something that was accidentally figured out in 1938 through the process of Kirlian photography. And I believe he was a Soviet scientist that figured this out, that the energy fields could be seen in humans, in foods, in plants, through this Kirlian photography. And I think what's really cool about it is that was like 80 years ago. It's not something that just showed up. This is something that came through in 1938. So we know that the energy fields of the physical body can show this distortion, discordance, these blockages. And there are some people, some energy healers, that do have the ability to see the discordance in energy fields and patterns. And so it's one of the things that I do with my clients is this information does come through for me. And so I want to share with you today why it matters. Because if you're somebody who's intentionally eating healthy foods, you're moving through your body, you're doing exercise, you're taking the time to meditate, pray, reflect, have healthy connections, but you still don't feel vital. You don't have that vitality. You don't have complete harness of your energy body, then this might be the reason why. This actually all came through for me yesterday to share with you all through a session that I had yesterday with an amazing health coach who has fantastic eating habits and exercises and moves and does all the right things. And we're trying to really get to the root cause of why is there a loss in vitality? And so I'm so grateful for all the experiences that I have with my clients, because it gives me, not only for our connection, but it allows me to learn with them and to share it with you all. So if you go back and look at Kirlian photography and you look at the work, which you can find through the Institute of Energy Healing, or if you Google Kirlian photography, it's super awesome. You can see the different energy fields in foods, in living food versus cooked food, in males versus females. You can see there are pictures that show you that the energy field still exists, even when there's a broken part of a plant. The energy field is still there as if it was still whole, which is really awesome, right? Think of the metaphor that creates for us. It's even when we think we lose something, we're still whole. Energetically, we're still whole. I mean, what that could mean even when we lose a loved one, or even when we lose, a limb on the body, or a plant loses a part of itself. Energetically, until otherwise the belief is created, it's still whole. And I just think that's super cool. So in this picture of this photography, it shows 3 different bodies. It shows a body that is not well, that has a distorted energy pattern around it with holes in the auric field, or, really contracted and loosely not really integrated energy fields around the body. The energy field of a healthy person is a balanced energy field. And on the other side, this is what I typically see in people, which can lead to the one that I first talked about, which is the broken energy fields, but it's the over-fiery energy field. And this is something that I've had to work through. It's usually shows up in a personality. It's similar to the Ayurvedic constitution that some of you may be familiar with. The Vata Pitta constitution, more of the go-getter, the overdoer, the perfectionist, the really hard worker, the hustler. There's an energy to all of that. And so what I'm noticing over the past 10 years of health coaching, and I work with primarily women, is that there's this epidemic happening in the thyroid and in the gallbladder and the liver and in the sacral chakra, our uterus, where we're denying the energy that wants to come through there. And it's very unhealthy. And it shows up in thyroid disease. It shows up in, just different disease patterns in the body. So I'm not saying that this is the cause of them, but I'm just sharing with you that this is the part that doesn't always get addressed or concerned or thought of when we are thinking about disease patterns. And I love to refer to Chinese medicine, because Chinese medicine is all about keeping the qi of the patient stronger than the qi of the illness pattern, disease, or pathogen. So it directly relates to what it is that I'm sharing with you. It's keeping your body energy, your qi, strong enough and resilient, which includes the emotional body, the physical body, the mental body, your beliefs, thoughts, patterns, trauma, emotional awareness. All of that matters. Keeping the integrity of the integrated emotional, physical, and spiritual layers of the energy body. So here's what happens. I'm going to invite you to think of it this way. Think about a dried up flower outside in your yard. You forgot to water it, and it's burnt and it's wilting. Do you think that that plant or flower is going to absorb water in the same way, at the same rate as a completely nourished, flourishing, vibrant flower? Probably not. I'm guessing that it doesn't have the capacity to absorb as much water as the healthy flour. So that would be the direct representation of the energy body that is distorted and broken and unable to receive. It's lacking vitality. Now, on the other side, think of in a body of any type that's very fiery and burning, or just think of a fire. Think of how quickly a fire burns through things. Think of how quickly it burns through wood. And if it's represented in the physical body, what happens is if your energy body is burning based on your constitution, in that moment, your energetic constitution, your energy field in that moment, wherever it is, because in that moment, your energy field is affected by your emotions, your beliefs, the people that you're around. It's affected by all of that. So in the moment that you're choosing to nourish yourself, whatever your energy field is in that moment has a lot to do with how you're going to receive, utilize, assimilate, and use that nutrition source. If you're burning the food before it has a chance to be absorbed, if your energy body is like burning the energy of the food source before it actually has a chance to be absorbed and utilized and transmuted and assimilated within the physical body, you're not absorbing nutrients. You're not getting nourished. You can eat healthy all day long, but if you're not receiving, if you're not integrated, you are not being nourished. Just like the wilted flower or the fire, right? It's harder to receive. The wilted flower, it doesn't have the capacity to receive the water, and the fire, it doesn't have the capacity to allow things to be because it's just burning through it. So literally, as I say that, the result is burnout. Burnout can show up in your body. It can show up in a breakdown in your relationships with people, with finances, with food, with your health and well-being. You might feel exhausted or overwhelmed or unsupported all the time. So what does all this mean? Why are we even talking about this? Because there's something that you can do. And it starts with becoming aware of the distortion in your energy field. Health and well-being is not just about the food you eat. I was a health coach for 10 years. I deeply believed that food could heal. And it can. It does. It healed me, my daughter, my family. Our journey through food was amazing. Totally amazing. And I'm grateful for it. And food does have the ability, it has an intelligence, especially plants and herbs and mushrooms. That's a whole nother conversation. Like the intelligence and the energy field of like fungus that communicates underneath the ground in this larger integrated network that is happening above the surface is just amazing. And the energy intelligence of plants and herbs, they can provide us with life force energy. They can heal. But if we're not receiving it and if we're not utilizing it, it doesn't matter. And so that's part of my story. That's how I know is that 5 years ago, at the peak of eating clean, I had a second health crisis. I was the healthiest I was in my life, the fittest on the outside, just doing fitness and eating super healthy. And that health quote crisis, I like to call a soul upgrade, was all about me realizing, learning that you can eat as healthy as you want, but if you're not connected to your spiritual, your energy, your mental, your emotional body, and the wholeness of who you are, you're never going to be completely well. And I do believe that. So we can work through that. We can work to heal the energy body, which includes the physical, emotional, and mental body. So first of all, let's talk about how this happens. There's subconscious blocks on the energy and emotional body that prevent us from receiving the nutrients we need. So if you're looking at the energy pattern, it actually shows up as blockages. Like some people can actually see this. We can have unhealthy emotional patterns that prevent us from healthy assimilation of the life force energy, the nutrients that we are receiving. I'm going to say that again. Unhealthy emotional patterns that prevent healthy assimilation of the nutrients that we're receiving. If you're eating kale chips and you're angry about it, you're probably not going to receive the nutrients from the kale. If you're eating something healthy and you don't think it tastes good because you think you're supposed to do it, it's probably out of alignment. On the flip side, if you're craving comfort foods or overeating as a way of numbing out or feeding the unhealthy ego pattern of your emotional body, it's probably not going to be properly assimilated and utilized in your body. And so just think about this for a second. Like if you're overeating emotionally, it's might contribute to weight gain. Your energy body might be like, yeah, I'm not receiving that. So I'm just going to not receive it as nutrients in the body, and it's just going to flush out into the fat cells and create some toxic sludge. The other way that this can happen is that we have unhealthy beliefs or preconceived thoughts about the future, either out of fear or some other type of block that alters it. Literally, that belief, the energy of that belief literally alters the timeline and the efficacy of our nutrition. So the efficiency, our ability to receive. And think about the timeline of just the food going through your digestive system. If you are in a self-sabotaging emotional eating pattern, and there's a belief about it, you've already created the outcome in your mind. So it completely alters the body's ability to absorb in a healthy way. The state of your energy body affects how you absorb the different types of food at different times in your life. So how your energy field is in the moment that you're deciding to eat, and how that food integrates into your body, where it goes, how it's used, matters on your energy field. It matters. The beliefs that you have about yourself, about the way that you receive, the beliefs that you have about yourself affect the way that you receive, absorb, and assimilate food and all forms of life energy. Let's talk about it affects the way that you receive love, which is a life force energy, intimacy, connection, your breath, your energy field, your energy body, which includes the mental, emotional, spiritual, physical body, is affected by the beliefs that you have about yourself and your ability to receive different forms of life force energy. When you're out of alignment, no matter how healthy you eat, it will be hard to thrive. It will be hard to receive. So you're probably sitting here thinking, well, that's great, but what do I do about it? And before I decided to record this podcast, I wanted to make sure that I gave you some takeaways to take action on so that you can do something. And I have a couple offerings I want to share with you. One is that in my coaching business, there's one of two ways that I support people through this process. One of them is an embodied healing intuitive coaching session where I intuitively allow things to come through that I see that include your energy body, and I give you action and takeaways to integrate into your life. So this is more for the person who has some sort of understanding of healthy nutrition and movement, like they've got all that, they just don't know what the blocks are. And they don't know how to integrate everything in together. It's for the person who's seeking more vitality at like the next level, the next layer of healing. Seeking vitality and more life force energy in their life. The second offering is the divine healing session that is a way to reprogram subconscious ego agendas And so this is a healing session. It's a receiving session, not a coaching session, where you actually lie down and allow me to do the work and remove and reprogram subconscious ego agendas and energy blocks that are showing up in your energy field. And there's 26 primary layers that we work with that then go into really hundreds more layers. There are many, many different patterns that we're working with that include integrative reprogramming, includes things from trauma to hidden subconscious ego agenda to fears to God consciousness to the integrative charts of nutrients and healing codes to toxicity and vaccines. And I mean, it includes everything. And so it's a 2-hour session. We get to work. But again, it's more of a healing session for you. So there's a coaching session, and then there's the healing session, 2 completely different experiences. And then also, as a result of this information coming through and just noticing the need for people to really uncover and understand the significance of the energy body and how it's affected by subconscious trauma and emotions and beliefs, I'm going to be offering a class in the Facebook group, the Embodied Healing and Empowered Living Facebook group, on July 22nd at noon. So come on over and join the group. I'd love to have you come. I have just a lot of really good information to share with you. And I believe that we're at a time where we're ready to receive this. Like, we're realizing that our health and well-being can be affected by fear right now, by hate, by all of the things that are happening on a global scale right now. And so I believe that people are waking up to the fact that we're not just a physical body. And that's why I want to offer this for you so that you can have a deeper understanding of what we really are as multidimensional beings, which is what a divine healing session does, is it heals through multidimensional layers, alternate timelines, alternate experiences. So, beliefs projected into the future and all of that's why it's so powerful. So I'm offering to teach this course on July 22nd at noon in the Embodied Healing and Empowered Living Facebook group. I'm going to drop the links in the notes. We'd love to have you join and hope to see you in the group and on the call. Sending lots of love and aloha for a wonderful day. Thank you again for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Hello, friends, and thank you so much for joining me today and being a part of this community. I know there are many other podcasts that you could be tuning into, and I am deeply honored that you chose to listen in and be present with me today. I love and cherish and appreciate you, and I want to invite you to join our tribe and Facebook group under jenmons.com/connect. I would also love to gift you your guide to discovering and overcoming the self-limiting beliefs standing in the way of you living in optimal health, more energy, fulfillment, and self-confidence to create an embodied, healthy, whole you. You can find this at jenmons.com/tribe. I also have one small request to help spread the love. In order for this podcast to show up in the feed of social media platforms of other like-minded people, we need reviews. So please head on over to jenmons.com/podcast to leave a review. You will also find other inspiring episodes on that page. So I personally read these reviews weekly and would love to give you a shout out and share your kind words with our listeners. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook as Jen Mons or The Holistic Coach with the W Holistic and Jen Mons, JenMons.com. Thank you so much and have an amazing day. Aloha. The content of this podcast is to educate, inspire, and inform you of pathways to an embodied healing self. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice from your medical doctor, therapist, registered dietitian, or nutritionist for any questions you may have regarding your diagnosis or condition.